Do you often misplace your keys or forget about that delicious dish baking in the oven? Perhaps you've missed your grandchild's birthday again or an overdue electricity bill? Memory is important, and it can feel quite destabilizing when you start noticing it is weakening. Whether that's from disease or simply because you age, it is estimated that 40% of adults aged over 65 experience memory impairment. So how can you strengthen your memory and prevent it from declining? With a mind palace, of course. But what is that exactly? In a nutshell, a mind palace is a memorization technique popularly used by Sherlock Holmes to recall information. But how can you effectively use it to strengthen your memory in your everyday life? Don't go anywhere and keep watching. In this video, we're about to reveal the mystery of the mind palace and how to use it to your advantage. We'll break down everything you need to know about this incredible memory method and share the 4-step technique to build your own mind palace and strengthen your brain and memory so you don't miss a thing ever again. But before we unlock those secrets, can you do us a favor and like this video? Ring the bell for future notifications and make sure you subscribe to Brain Health Smarts for more videos. Plus, stick around to find out how you can get a free gift. And now, let's dive in. First, in order to use the Mind Palace method to enhance your memory, you need to understand. What is a Mind Palace? The Mind Palace method is a memorization technique used to register information, store it effectively, and retrieve that information instantly. And you store and recall this information by giving them a memorable shape or form and placing them into a built-in corner of your memory. While you might have just discovered this intriguing system now, the Mind Palace method was first discovered in 556 to 468 BC in Greece. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy records the tale of a poet named Simonides. One night, Simonides was invited to an elite banquet when the building suddenly collapsed on the guests. As the sole survivor, he was asked to identify the bodies of the attendants. Simonides closed his eyes, and by visualizing who sat where during the meal, he was able to name every single guest in ancient Roman and Greek texts. So the Mind Palace method was used as a mnemonic tool. It has been popularized in recent years through many memory contest championships. Today, the Mind Palace is also known as the method of loci. Loci is the Latin word for places or location and implies that this incredible system acts as a storage system in our brain. The purpose of this method is to imagine yourself placing an item you want to remember in a location, loci, that is easily retrievable. The process is similar to remembering to grab your bag off the chair before leaving home. In this case, the bag is the item and the chair is the location. This is the modern version of Sherlock Holmes. In the TV show Sherlock, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, often see the character going to his own mind palace to retrieve memories and information that help solve a crime. Yet you might be thinking that Sherlock is a fictional character with unique abilities. And perhaps that's true, but the Mind Palace technique works because it offers tangible results and you can use them in real-life practical situations. So when it comes to enhancing memory, this method is highly useful, even if you're not a detective. A study conducted on 78 university students found that those who used the method of loci to learn and memorize a specific lecture retained more information than those who learned the same lecture in a traditional way. Another study in patients with mild cognitive impairment showed that using a mnemonic technique, including the method of loci, can help with cognitive rehabilitation, boost overall memory, and stimulate brain activity. Pretty impressive, right? So now that you understand the origins, broad concepts, and potential benefits of using a Mind Palace, let's explore. How does the incredible Mind Palace technique work? The Mind Palace, or method of loci, tap into our brain's natural ability to process visual information, map a clear mental path to those visual elements, and use the power of stories to lock in that precious data for good. As humans, we constantly use imagery to recall information. When you hear the word dog, you don't picture the written word. You will most likely visualize an image of a dog. In the same way, back when there weren't Google Maps or even printed maps, our ancestors found their way back to their homes by using visual cues along their path, such as specific trees or rivers. Imagery is a universal way to comprehend and recall information. As children, we learn through pictures, and when we dream, we visualize stories. Well, our memory works in the same way. To remember information, the mind associates a word with something visual. In the Mind Palace technique, you create a visual world within your own mind. This world must have a path, and along that path you can store information. When you need to retrieve it, all you need to do is go into your own visual world and walk the path up to that information. In a more scientific way, experts talk about the Mind Palace as a spatial mnemonics method for brain activation. But what does that mean exactly? Well, spatial mnemonics implies sorting out words in a specific pattern in order to remember them. This method activates the medial parietal cortex, the retrosplenial cortex, and the right posterior hippocampus of the brain. And these parts of the brain are associated with memory and navigation. In a study published by the Journal of Educational Psychology, researchers found that 63% of participants who learned a list of words using spatial mnemonic methods recalled information. So, how can you activate your brain to store and retrieve information with the Mind Palace technique? Well, we're about to explore how you can build your own Mind Palace using 4 simple steps. But before we do, are you ready for a free gift? It's called The 15 Worst and Best Foods for Your Brain, an ebook that reveals the everyday foods that can harm your brain and increase your risk of mental disorders. Plus, which foods can boost your brain health big time. Check out the link in the description below this video. And now, it's time to find out how to build your own Mind Palace. In order to enhance your memory, you need to build a Mind Palace. And no, we are not talking about visualizing a magical castle or some faraway fantasy land you've never visited. A Mind Palace is much more simple. It can be your home, your workplace, the street you walk on every morning, your favorite coffee shop, the library, or simply your bedroom. The idea of a Mind Palace is that it should be a room or place you are extremely familiar with. It should be a place you can remember with your eyes closed. Once you have picked this place, simply look and identify some key items within it. Those will be your loci. For example, if your Mind Palace is a library, your loci might be the information desk, the new release bookshelf, a table by the window, a lamp, and the mystery section of the library. The great thing about a Mind Palace is that you are free to use anything as your Mind Palace and loci. The key is to select visual cues that are ingrained in your long-term memory. Long-term memory is the way our brain stores information, events, facts, or tasks that can be recalled both consciously and unconsciously, just like when we drive a manual car instinctively or get back on a bicycle after years of not riding. These are places we're familiar with, and items we see repeatedly become ingrained in our long-term memory. The Mind Palace needs to be built on a strong foundation in order to be beneficial for our memory. Using places and items ingrained in our long-term memory creates that foundation. Once you have decided on your Mind Palace and the loci within it, you're ready to start using it to store short-term memories. The 4 steps for memorizing information using the Mind Palace. Step 1. Get familiar with your own Mind Palace. Before you start adding information or short-term memories to your Mind Palace, you need to be familiar with your Mind Palace layout, permanent items or loci, and path. Let's explore this with your library. You walk into the library, and the first thing you see is the information desk, loci 1, straight ahead. You turn to your left and find the new release bookshelf, loci 2. You walk past it and sit at the table by the window, loci 3. There is a lamp, loci 4, on the right side of the table. The table is right next to the mystery section, loci 5 of the library. This is the path. Every time you use the library as your Mind Palace, it is best to visualize the exact same path and loci at all times. The functionality of a Mind Palace comes from cues or loci and repetition or path. Once you're comfortable enough with your path and know what to expect at every turn, then you're ready to add information. Step 2. Come up with a list of information to memorize. Your Mind Palace is a visual palace for your long-term memory. The list of information you want to remember can be considered your short-term memory. To store the information in your Mind Palace, the method requires encoding information on a pre-existing memory. Let's say you're trying to remember this shopping list: milk, oranges, chicken, chocolate, broccoli. To store this information in your Mind Palace, you need to place each of these items onto your path and associate them with more permanent information, your loci. While it can be easy to memorize 2 to 3 pieces of information, your shopping list, for example, will most likely have more than 10 items. and that can make it difficult for you to recall each item. To make this method work, you not only need to associate the list with loci, you also need to create attachments between an item and a loci. Let's explore what that implies in our next step. Step 3. Memorizing the items. Going back to our shopping list, the first item is milk. To attach milk to our first loci, which is the information desk in the library, we need to create a visual cue that is vivid, sensory, and unexpected. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of milk? Perhaps a cow? And that big cow is staring at you? Now visualize this exact cow sitting on top of the information desk. This is your attachment. Next, we have oranges with the second loci, the new release bookshelf. Oranges can be a tree with fruits or simply a bright color. The new release can be fully painted in orange. Your third item is chicken with the third loci, the table by the window. Perhaps you can visualize 3 chickens as your third item running around that exact table. Then you have chocolate with the fourth loci, the lamp on the right side of the table. Chocolate can be associated with Easter bunnies, for example, so visualize 4 little brown bunnies eating chocolate. Next, your last item is broccoli with loci number 5, the mystery section. Broccoli kind of looks like a tree, so there can be a massive tree blocking off the path around the shelves. Visualizing your items in a crazy and unexpected way, associating them with your loci, and placing them in order on your path is the key to memorizing them. Who knew remembering your shopping list was this enjoyable? Step 4. Recall the memories. Now that you have stored your items into your mind palace, it's time to recall them. In order to do so, all you have to do is come back to your library mind palace, walk through your path, and notice your loci. You walk into the library and the first thing you see is the information desk straight ahead with a huge cow sitting on top of it. That's your milk. You turn to your left and find the new release bookshelf, and the shelf is bright orange color, so those are your oranges. You walk past it and sit at the table by the window, but 3 chickens are running around it, so that's your chicken. There's a lamp on the right side of the table, with 4 brown bunnies eating chocolate. That's your chocolate. The table is right next to the mystery section of the library, but there's a giant green tree blocking the path, which makes it broccoli on your list. So to recap, loci 1, information desk. Item to remember, milk. Attachment, a cow sitting on the desk. Loci 2, new section bookshelf. Item to remember, oranges. Attachment, a bright orange bookshelf. Loci 3, table by the window. Item to remember, chicken. Attachment, 3 chickens running on the table. Loci 4, lamp on the right side of the table. Item to remember, chocolate. Attachment, 4 brown bunnies eating chocolate. Loci 5, mystery section. Item to remember, broccoli. Attachment, a giant green tree blocking the path. If I ask you again to recall this exact shopping list, you would most likely be able to name each item in order and without hesitation. That's because the Mind Palace method activates our memorization pattern through strong visual cues. By fostering the memory with visualization and creativity, we all have the potential to retain a large amount of information. And that means you don't necessarily have to stick with just one Mind Palace. Just like there are many countries in the world, your mind can use multiple places as mind palaces to store information. Your workplace can be used as a mind palace to recall work-related memos. Your street can be used as a mind palace to remember a speech or presentation. Your favorite restaurant can be used to store details about your loved ones. There is no limit to the Mind Palace technique, so go ahead, get creative, and explore how you can enhance your memory and benefit from the Mind Palace. But before you go, remember to like this video, subscribe, and hit the alert bell to stay up to date with us. Plus, don't forget to download your free gift by clicking the link in the description below. It's a powerful new ebook called The 15 Worst and Best Foods for Your Brain, which reveals the everyday foods that can harm your brain and which foods can boost your brain health big time. Stay healthy and brain smart, and we hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.